Hey guys, it's Christina again, back after I guess a little bit of an absence from you guys actually seeing me on the channel. Um, if you did not know, I have been doing another round of story time and we followed Eddie and Astrid. And for those of you who have asked me, I am going to be making that available on Amazon for you to read it if you want to. So there's that. But anyway, today I'm back with what was actually a request. I'm not going to tell you guys who requested it because I don't know if she wants that information to be available, but one of my peers reached out to me and gave me the wonderful suggestion for like to offer some tips for writing short stories, which I love writing personally. So, yes, I absolutely have tips for that. So, the first thing that you're going to want to do when writing a short is you're going to need to figure out the scope of your story. Now, on one hand, it doesn't really matter how long you think the story doesn't quite matter how long you think or want the story rather to be, because the story needs what it needs. Often I'll go into something thinking, oh, this is going to be a novella, and then 70,000 words later, obviously, it is not a novella anymore. But sometimes, if the scope is very tight, we're just getting this couple together. They don't have a bunch of things working against them. They don't have necessarily much conflict getting in the way of them being together. We can keep the scope very tight. Keep the scope very small. There's not a lot of different details involved, not a lot of this over here and that over there. We're able to keep the focus very much on the couple, and we know that we're going to be able to that's going to help us with limiting the length of this because we don't have all this other stuff that's going into it. It's just about the love story. So, as an example, if you're let's say you're writing a novella or a novelette or a short, something even shorter than that, which would be the novelette. You don't want to Let me find an example here. Okay, we're going to say these are childhood friends who are going to become lovers, friends to lovers storyline. If that is the storyline, then unless we're making a novella series, maybe, or a novelette series, or we're planning on revisiting this couple or something like that, we want to keep it just about them. We don't want to introduce the fact that, well, there's this drama going on at work, or someone's parent is ill and there's a lot going on with that. Not to say that those aren't important story elements or those aren't important storylines, just to think about, is this valid or is this relevant to the love story that I'm trying to tell right now? Am I keeping my scope, or am I keeping my focus narrow, or am I introducing elements that are going to require me to explore even more things in order to tell a full story? Just something to think about. Another big thing to consider is making sure that you're focusing on the character development that matters. Now, of course, character development is an important part of telling any story, but let me think of another example. Let's say that our heroine has a fear of the dark that happened because maybe when she was a child there was a home invasion when she was a child, and so now she's afraid of the dark, and etc., etc., etc. That might be something that you know about your heroine, but it might not be something, if that's not relevant to bringing this love story together, that might not be a thing that we need to introduce, because if we're going to introduce something like that, this deep psychological thing that she has, this fear of being alone in the dark by herself, that might require more words than what we're wanting to put into it. And so maybe that's not even something that we bring up, unless, okay, the hero is a psychiatrist and she comes back home to her hometown and she's trying to get over this fear of the dark now, and so she's gonna go, well, we probably shouldn't do that because that's so unprofessional. If the hero is the psychiatrist and she's gonna be his patient, we probably shouldn't do that. But let's say we did it anyway. Okay, that is relevant, but that's also maybe not the type of storyline that we want to do for a short. And that's one of those things where, what I talked about before about figuring out your scope. If something like that is going to happen, where we have this unprofessional relationship between client and doctor, and she needs to get over this deep psychological thing that she has going on, this deep trauma from her childhood, maybe we're talking about something that's actually not a short. Maybe we need to expand our scope, and we need to think about maybe doing, instead of a novelette, maybe this needs to be a novella, or maybe a full-blown novel, or maybe a 4-book series. Who knows? But that's just another thing to think about. Which brings me to another part of successfully writing a short. You need to solve any problem that you bring up. If you're not going to send your heroine to the therapy that she needs, and bring her around to where she needs to get from this trauma, we don't need to bring that trauma up. We don't need to make that a focus if we're not going to wrap that up. If somebody is being stalked, or anything like that, if there is a huge argument between the hero and the heroine's sister or brother or whatever, we don't need to have that happen and then we just never bring it up again because, oh, now we don't have time to wrap it up. Then you shouldn't have brought it up. If you don't have time within the story to fully wrap these things up, then maybe that's not part of that story. I know what will happen with me sometimes is I'll have these different story elements or whatever that would work for the story that I'm writing. Like, they would fit right in, but they're not actually for the story that I'm writing. I know that sounds so, I feel like I'm not fully explaining that like I should, so I probably shouldn't have brought it up. Hey, but no, what I'm saying is, for example, just because it would work for my heroine to have a fear of the dark, just because that would explain this thing over here, doesn't mean that that's actually part of the path my heroine is on. It doesn't mean that that story element or storyline is actually hers. Just because it fits doesn't mean it should fit here. And so you might have ideas and things that you come up with that would work for the novella or the novelette or the short story that you're trying to write, but you might need to just kind of put those in your mental Rolodex and leave those on the table for something longer so that you can keep that focus tight. But yeah, going back to what my point actually was with that, make sure that you're solving all the issues that you bring up. Make sure that you're solving all of your problems, because the last thing you want is to have a valid complaint of, well, this wasn't closed out, or this wasn't finished, or this felt incomplete, etc., etc., etc. Now, there are going to be people who, because you wrote a short, no matter what, you could tie everything up with a bow, and because it's short, people are going to say, oh, well, that was incomplete, or that wasn't finished. And that's a whole different thing. What you don't want is for that to be a valid complaint. You're going to get the complaint. You don't want it to be valid because of something that you didn't do in the course of your, of fulfilling or working through your art. Have fun. Whenever I write a short, I can guarantee you that I had a blast while I was doing it, or I didn't do it, because what's the purpose of that? The purpose to me of a short is a story that has come to me. These characters who have come to me, they've not given me enough for a full-blown storyline. They've not given me enough to sit with them and spend time with them, but that doesn't make their story any less worthy of telling. And I know that these days is very there's like this collective amnesia of the fact that short fiction has been a thing for as long as literature has been a thing. There have always been different lengths and different volumes in terms of storytelling, and none of them are any more valid as a storytelling medium than the other. Your story being a novelette or a short or a novella or a full-length novel or a 15-book series, whatever, the presence or the existence of none of those other things makes your thing any less valid, no matter what people who don't like this particular medium or whatever may have to say. You can write a short, you can write a novella, you can completely have fun with it, and it's okay to make money from it. It's okay to enjoy it's okay to enjoy your passion. It's okay to wake up with an idea on your brain take a couple of days with it or a couple of weeks with it or whatever, no matter what time it takes you to do it, no matter how long it is, it's okay for you to publish that. If people don't want to pay for it, they won't pay for it. If people don't like it, they won't like it. That's up to them to decide. But don't let anybody else with, I ain't gonna get into all of that, but do what you want. Have fun. I'm going to assume you're going to be able to have fun, because if you're writing a short, we're probably not talking about something with a really super intense, deep, dark storyline, because typically those type of storylines do need a little more time than, definitely more time than probably a short story or a novelette are going to give you, unless your focus is real tight. Unless that focus is super tight, you're going to need more time with a darker storyline. And so if you're probably doing something fun, and I would say just let it be fun. Don't let everybody in your head, well, what are people going to think? What are people going to say? People are going to say it's not long enough. Girl, people are going to complain. Somebody is going to have something to complain about when it comes to it. Nobody is going to love nobody is going to love all of it. You got to let that go and just have fun. If it doesn't end up being a short, maybe it's not supposed to be a short. Maybe, maybe that's just not what it is. Maybe that's just not what these characters have for you. Maybe they have more. Be okay with that too. But ultimately, make sure that you're having fun. Close any loop that you open. Make sure that you close it. Keep your storyline, keep your story focus. If I can get my words out, keep your story focus tight on whatever story you're trying to tell. Make sure that everything that you write down serves telling that story. And what was my other thing? Yeah, I think that was it. I think that was it. So hopefully this was helpful to you. If you have any questions or anything like that, you can feel free to ask them. I'll do my best to answer them. And if you have suggestions for other videos that you want to see, please just let me know. I'm always open to these type of suggestions. And if it's something that's feasible for me, I will definitely do my best to make it happen. As always, thank you guys so much for your support. I did my little peace fingers too soon, so we're going to just pretend you didn't see that yet. As always, thank you guys for watching my videos and supporting my channel, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.